Lock up your silverware, folks, because this week's prompt was forks in any medium. I chose this item because it's a great study in both light reflection and cultural reflection. Forks have been around since at least the Bronze Age. They show up in places across Asia, in Egypt, and elsewhere around the Mediterranean for thousands of years, sometimes only for serving food or removing it from the fire, usually with less tines, but functionally the same as our modern forks. But when people talk about when they were, quote, invented, you will usually hear that it's only been in use or popular for a few hundred years, because that's when it started to be popular in Northern Europe. History's framing is a social construct. It's the same as that meme, what's trashy when you're poor but classy when you're rich, but applied to places. Like, what's classy and civilized when Europe does it, but trashy and barbaric if it happens anywhere else? Yeah. There's a notorious story about a Byzantine princess 1,000 years ago who marries an Italian and uses a fork, and they think that that's evidence of her sin, and that her death from the plague was their god's judgment on her. But now that they're common in Europe, we use not knowing what a fork is or how to use it as a placeholder in literature for showing how uncivilized someone is. Digging into the history of the humble fork is a great practice in spotting socially constructed historical framing so that you can see where it happens in more consequential subjects. This small collection is also great practice in reflected light. The relative flatness makes it easy to see how the light will bounce, while the slight curve in it gives the reflection some interest. For the purposes of this practice, all surfaces can be treated like a mirror. Light will always reflect along the opposite angle on the surface. It's like a reverse vanishing point for perspective, called, creatively enough, the angle of reflection. If you have a light and an observer trying to see the light in a mirror, the light will be visible at the point where the angles between the mirror and the light and the observer and the light are the same. Now that sounds really complicated in words, but if you see a couple examples from the side, it's a lot easier. Like this. So in this photo, the light is at about a 40-degree angle from the desk, so any reflection on the desktop itself will show up here on the photo. And the curves in the fork mean the angle is very slightly changing across the surface, like this. Now, you don't need to get out your ruler and protractor for every sketch, but paying attention to the angle of reflection can help create depth and sell the illusion of three-dimensionality in your piece. So with all that in mind, here's my final drawing. If you've posted your drawing this week already, thank you. I love seeing your art. Everyone has a different way of seeing the world, and that means everyone's art is different, even when we're all drawing the same thing. If you haven't posted yet, or you're finding this at some point in the future, I'd still love to see your drawing. You can post it here in my YouTube community, in my Discord, or use the hashtag ChrisChallenges on Blue Sky and I'll repost it. If you haven't seen these challenges before, I'm putting a link to the playlist that has all the current themes prompts here to the right. We're very low pressure here. You're welcome to draw and post them at any point in any order. I'll see you in a few days with the next prompt. Until then, happy creating!